No one knew her name when she was found. She was not Luna then. She was just another broken little soul, hidden beneath a pile of waste, almost invisible to the world around her. On the outskirts of a crowded town in Vietnam, beneath torn plastic, rotting scraps, and discarded trash, a small dog lay trembling in silence. She was weak, terrified, barely moving. If someone had walked by too quickly, they might never have seen her at all. But someone did stop. Not because they saw her first, but because they heard her. A faint whimper, so soft, so fragile, that it could easily have been mistaken for the sound of the wind rustling through rubbish. But it was not the wind. It was a cry for help. When rescuers moved the waste away, they found her curled tightly into herself, trying to disappear. Her body was dirty and fragile, her eyes wide with fear. And then they saw her mouth. It had been bound shut with tape, wrapped so tightly around her muzzle that it had cut deep into her skin. The flesh beneath was raw, swollen and torn. Every breath must have hurt. Every moment she had endured in that condition must have felt unbearable. No one knew how she got there. No one knew how long she had been lying beneath that pile of waste. No one knew whether she had escaped from transport, whether she had been abandoned, or whether someone had left her there to die. But what was clear was that this little dog had suffered greatly, and somehow she was still alive. The rescuers approached carefully. Dogs who have been hurt by humans do not understand rescue right away. They do not know that kindness has come. They only know fear, pain, survival. When one rescuer reached out toward her, she flinched violently. Her body stiffened, her eyes filled with panic. She wanted to run, but she was too weak. So instead, she froze. One of the rescuers spoke softly to her, not because she could understand the words, but because sometimes kindness begins with tone, with gentleness, with the sound of a voice that asks nothing and threatens nothing. They wrapped her in a blanket and carried her to safety.
Easy now, we're here to help you.
She did not bark.
She's so scared.
She did
Look at
not
her.
struggle.
I know.
She
We'll get
only
you safe.
stared. At the clinic, the first task was removing the tape. It should have been simple, but it was not. The adhesive had stuck to her broken skin. The wounds underneath were deep. Every careful movement caused pain. The veterinary team worked slowly, gently, doing everything they could to reduce her suffering. She was dehydrated, underweight, exhausted, and terrified. But even in that state, there was something about her that stayed with everyone in the room. She was afraid, yes, but she was not aggressive, not angry, not hardened. She looked like a dog who had seen cruelty up close and still, somehow, had not let go of her softness. When the tape finally came away, the injuries were worse than anyone had hoped. The cuts had gone deep. The surrounding skin was inflamed. Infection was a serious risk. She needed urgent medical attention, pain relief, cleaning, treatment, and careful observation. She also needed something medicine alone could not give. She needed safety. She needed rest. She needed to feel, perhaps for the first time in a very long time, that the world was no longer trying to hurt her. Soon after, she was transferred to Pause for Compassion in Vietnam, where she could receive the intensive care she needed. And that is where her healing began. Healing in cases like hers, is never instant. There are no dramatic miracles in the first few days, no sudden transformation, no magical moment where fear simply disappears. Real healing is quieter than that. It looks like wounds being cleaned over and over again. It looks like medicine carefully measured and given with patience. It looks like soft food placed gently in front of a frightened dog and left there until she finally finds the courage to eat. It looks like fresh blankets, clean bedding, warm hands, soft voices, and people who stay even when trust does not come quickly. The dog who would one day be named Luna was afraid of everything. Footsteps made her tense. Sudden movements made her shrink away. A door opening too fast could send her deeper into fear. Whenever staff approached, she
Cô
braced
chú ơi,
herself
em đưa bé này vào
as
đây
if
gấp.
she was
Được rồi,
expecting
để lên
pain.
bàn đây. Tình trạng thế nào? Nó
As
bị
if
thương ngoài đường, yếu lắm rồi.
experience had
Em lấy
taught
thuốc
her
tê và Garo
that
đây.
human
Giữ chặt nó nhé.
hands
Cảm ơn cô
always
chú.
come with harm. But still, she never tried to bite. She never lashed out. Even while trembling, even while carrying fresh trauma in her body, there was a quiet gentleness in her spirit that remained untouched. It was as though somewhere inside all the fear, she still wanted to believe that kindness might be real. And that made her story even more heartbreaking and even more extraordinary. At night, she struggled to sleep. The smallest sound would wake her. Sometimes volunteers would check on her and find her sitting upright in the darkness, eyes open, body tense, as if sleep itself no longer felt safe. Trauma does that. It teaches the body to remain alert, to expect danger, to distrust silence. Food was another challenge. She was hungry, yes, but hunger and trauma don't always work in simple ways. She approached her bowl with hesitation. She sniffed it carefully, stepped back, returned, then backed away again. At first, she ate very little. Then, slowly, a few bites. Then more. Then one day, her bowl was empty. And that tiny moment felt enormous. Because in rescue, progress is often measured in the smallest signs. A little food eaten, a body relaxing for a few seconds longer, a dog choosing not to retreat, a sigh, a glance, a tail movement so slight it could be missed by anyone who doesn't understand how hard-won such moments are. By the end of the first week, the swelling around her muzzle had started to reduce.
Sweet girl.
By the second week, the wounds began to close. And by the third,
ointment will help it heal.
something even more
You're safe
powerful
now.
had begun to heal. Her spirit. One morning, a caregiver opened her kennel door and saw something they had not seen before. A tail wag. Just once. Small, brief, fragile, but real. That little wag meant recognition. It meant, maybe I know you. Maybe I am safe with you. Maybe not every human hand brings pain. And in that one small movement, hope returned. Not loudly, not all at once, but softly, the way dawn returns after the longest night. That was around the time they gave her a name, Luna. A name gentle enough to match the softness that somehow still lived inside her. A name that gave her identity, because she was no longer just a rescue case, no longer just an injured stray, no longer just a victim of cruelty. She was Luna, a living being, a survivor, a soul with a future. As her body grew stronger, her personality slowly began to emerge. She loved soft bedding. She would circle her blanket carefully before lying down, as if the comfort still felt unfamiliar, as if she wanted to make sure it was hers. She liked quiet spaces. She liked calm people. She liked gentle voices. And she loved company, though in her own careful way. Luna was never the kind of dog to run into someone's arms. She did not demand affection. She did not leap or beg for attention. Her love was quieter. She would sit near people instead of on them, watch them from a safe distance, move closer little by little. Her trust was built in inches, in moments, in patience, in the repeated proof that kindness could be consistent, that kindness could stay. The scars on her muzzle remained. Some would likely never fully disappear, but over time, they began to mean something different. At first, they were signs of cruelty. Later, they became signs of survival. Luna had escaped something horrific, but she was not the only one. In Vietnam, the dog and cat meat trade remains a brutal reality for countless animals. Every year, millions of dogs and cats are caught in this system. Some are stolen from loving homes, taken from families who spend days, weeks, even months searching for them. Others are captured from the streets. Some are strays, many are not. For the animals trapped in this trade, suffering begins long before slaughter. They are often packed tightly into cages, tied up, transported for hours or days without food, without water, without comfort. They are injured, frightened, and surrounded by other terrified animals. The pain is physical, but it is also psychological. Dogs are emotional beings. They know fear. They know distress. They know when something is wrong. And many spend their final hours in unbearable terror. Luna almost became one of them. Almost. And that word matters, because almost is the difference between life and death. Almost is the difference between silence and a second chance. Weeks passed, and Luna continued
Good morning,
to heal.
sweetie.
She was no longer in
That's it.
constant
You're safe
medical
now.
crisis. Her wounds improved. Her appetite returned. Her eyes softened. She started showing curiosity about the world around her. One day, while outside in a secure yard, a volunteer watched her notice a bird landing nearby. For a brief moment, Luna forgot to be afraid. She tilted her head. Her ears lifted, and there it was, curiosity, a simple, innocent response to life, the kind of response trauma tries to steal.
Xin chào em.
The
Em đã ổn hơn rồi
volunteer
nhé.
later said
Em sẽ
that
có một cái
moment
tên mới,
brought
một khởi đầu
tears to
mới.
their eyes.
Tên em là
Because
Luna.
after
Em thích không?
everything Luna had endured,
Tốt lắm Luna.
she was still capable of wonder. And perhaps that is one of the most remarkable things about rescued animals. They do not erase what happened, they carry it. But somehow, many still find room inside themselves for joy. Luna began having more of those moments. She discovered toys, though cautiously. At first, she did not understand them. But one day, she picked up a soft, stuffed toy and carried it gently back to her bed. She did not tear it apart. She did not toss it around. She simply kept it beside her, as if she had found comfort in something harmless, something soft, something safe. The rescue staff smiled when they saw that, not because it was funny, but because tenderness after suffering is deeply moving. Luna also formed a bond with one of the caregivers who had helped treat her wounds from the beginning. Whenever that person entered the room, Luna seemed calmer. Her body relaxed. Her eyes followed them with trust. Sometimes the deepest bonds are formed not through grand gestures, but through repeated gentleness during the hardest moments. That bond said something powerful. It said that Luna had not given up on people, and that was extraordinary, because cruelty changes animals. It teaches fear. It rewires expectation. It can leave lasting shadows inside the body and mind. An animal hurt by humans has every reason to turn away forever. And yet, Luna did not. Not completely. She remained soft. Careful, yes. Sensitive, yes. Traumatized, certainly, but soft. And there's a kind of courage in that softness that words can barely hold. Healing, of course, was not perfect. There were setbacks. Loud noises still frightened her. Sudden changes in routine unsettled her. Unexpected movements could send her back into old fear. Some days were harder than others. But true recovery is not the absence of fear. It's learning little by little that fear does not rule every moment anymore. Eventually, Luna became well enough to move into foster care, and that changed her world once again. Her foster home was quiet, peaceful, safe. It was not a place of luxury. It was something far more important. It was a place where nothing bad was waiting for her. At first, Luna was cautious. She observed everything: the sounds of a home, the rhythm of people moving from room to room, the television, the doors, the unfamiliar comfort of ordinary life. She kept close to her bed in those first days, unsure of what to make of this new world. But gradually, she adjusted. She found favorite places in the house: a patch of sunlight near the door, a quiet corner where she could rest undisturbed, a comfortable blanket that smelled familiar and safe. She began to follow her foster humans from room to room, always leaving a little space between them, as though she wanted closeness but still needed the reassurance of distance. Then, one evening, something changed. Her foster guardian was sitting quietly when Luna walked over, slowly, carefully, and rested her head against their leg. No fear, no trembling, just trust. It was a simple gesture, but for a dog like Luna, it meant everything. Her foster family described her as gentle, sweet, and deeply sensitive. She was the kind of dog who appreciated everything: a meal, a soft place to sleep, a calm voice, a kind hand. Safety had not made her demanding, it had made her grateful. And then, little by little, her playful side emerged. In the garden, she began to run, at first in short bursts, quick, joyful circles, as if her body was rediscovering something it had forgotten: freedom. Watching her run became one of her foster family's favorite things,
Easy now,
because
Luna.
every
You're safe
step
with me.
seemed to say the same thing.
Here you go. We're going to a new
I
home.
am still here. I survived. I can still feel joy. And yet, Luna's story is not only about one dog, because for every Luna who escapes, there are countless others who do not. That's the heartbreaking truth behind stories like hers. When people see a rescued dog, healed and safe, it's natural to feel relief, to want the story to end there, to hold on to hope. And hope matters. It matters deeply. But hope must also make room for truth. Across Vietnam, thousands upon thousands of dogs and cats remain trapped in the meat trade. Many are stolen from homes. Many are taken from the streets. Many are transported in horrifying conditions. Many never get the chance Luna got. They never hear a gentle voice. They never feel a healing hand. They never know what it is to be safe again. That's why rescue stories matter. Not because they let us feel good for a moment, but because they force us to look, to understand, to remember that behind every number is an individual life. One dog, one frightened body, one beating heart, one soul waiting in darkness. Luna is one of those lives. Her story cannot represent all of them. No single story can. But it opens a window into a reality too many people ignore. It reminds us that the dog meat trade is not an abstract issue. It's not just a headline. It's suffering made real in living bodies. And when you look into Luna's eyes, you understand something important. This was never about animals in the abstract. It was about her. About a dog who felt pain, who felt terror, who felt abandonment, and who, against all odds, also found healing. Months passed. Her wounds closed. Her fur began to grow back over the damaged skin around her muzzle. The scars remained, but they softened. She could eat comfortably now. She could rest. She could sleep without fear waking her every time a door moved. She had favorite routines, favorite people, favorite places to lie down, and always still that soft toy she carried so gently. Visitors sometimes asked about the marks on her face. Her foster family would explain carefully what she had survived, but they also made sure to say something else. Luna was no longer defined only by what had been done to her. She was defined by what she had become. A survivor, yes, but also a loving dog, a gentle companion, a soul learning how to live again. That distinction matters, because rescued animals should not remain trapped forever in the identity of their pain. They are more than what happened to them. They are also who they become after love. No one knows exactly what Luna remembers. Animal trauma does not live in words the way human memory does. It lives in the body, in sudden reactions, in fear responses, in habits shaped by suffering. A sound can trigger it. A smell can awaken it. A movement can bring it back in an instant. But healing lives in the body too. So does kindness. So does routine. So does safety. And over time, these things begin to teach a different lesson. That food will come. That no one will hurt you. That night can pass peacefully. That hands can be gentle. That home can be real. Luna is still waiting for her forever home. A place not just to stay, but to belong. A home that will understand her sensitivity. A home that will move at her pace. A home that will never rush her healing, never punish her fear, never ask her to be anything other than who she is. Until that day comes, she waits in safety. And that alone is a victory. Because she is no longer waiting in pain, no longer waiting in terror, no longer waiting to die. She is waiting to be loved for the rest of her life. And that is a very different kind of waiting. Luna's story reminds us that rescue is not just the moment of saving. It is everything that follows. It is the wound cleaning, the sleepless nights, the patience, the setbacks, the repeated acts of kindness, the choice to keep showing up for a frightened animal until trust begins to grow. Rescue is ordinary devotion doing extraordinary work. The people who found Luna may never know exactly what happened before that day. They may never know who taped her mouth shut, how long she was in pain, how she ended up under that pile of waste.
Some questions may never be answered, but perhaps the most important truth does not need an answer. She survived. And because she survived, the world was given another chance too, a chance to be kinder, a chance to care, a chance to listen when a faint cry rises from a place most people would rather not look. Luna's second chance was created by human hands, and that is part of what makes it so powerful, because the same world that hurt her also saved her. The same species capable of cruelty is also capable of compassion, and in Luna's life, compassion arrived just in time. Today, she rests on soft blankets instead of garbage. She eats from bowls filled with care instead of scavenging in fear. Her mouth, once sealed shut in pain, is now free. Free to yawn, free to pant in the sun, free to take treats gently from loving hands, free to live. She was lucky, but luck alone is not enough. Her story asks more of us than tears. It asks for awareness, for compassion,
Here, Luna rests
for
safely
action.
in her foster home.
Because while Luna
But
sleeps
outside,
safely
so
tonight,
many others still wait in
many
the cold
others still
darkness.
remain in cages,
Their stories are
in
waiting to be
transport
told.
trucks, in slaughter lines, in silence, still waiting, still suffering, still hoping in whatever way animals hope that someone will come. And somewhere in that darkness, there may be another faint cry, another life nearly lost, another dog like Luna, terrified, wounded, unseen, unless someone stops, unless someone listens, unless someone cares. And that is why Luna's story matters. Not only because she survived, but because her survival reminds us what compassion can do. It can interrupt cruelty. It can rebuild trust. It can heal what violence tried to destroy. It can turn fear into safety. And in the life of one small dog once hidden beneath a pile of waste, it became the difference between ending and beginning. Luna was almost lost to the horrors of the dog meat trade. Almost. But almost is not the end of her story. Because someone heard her, someone stopped, someone chose mercy. And because of that, Luna lived. And now her life stands as a quiet reminder that even in a world capable of terrible cruelty, kindness still has the power to save.